I have on another journey, and today's journey features a guest who started his career as a dentist, first with the US Navy before transitioning into private practice in Austin, Texas. But a life-changing event in 2018 made our guest pivot away from dentistry and find a better way to create an impact in this world. His new path was revealed when the first person out took a 30-year mortgage and paid off in 8 months. Our guest helps families and business owners with a simple financial system so they can dramatically reduce their debt payments on items like mortgages, business loans, car payments, student loans, and even car credit card payments. By managing these payments effectively, as it says here, you maintain your lifestyle, keep more money each month, and achieve your dreams faster. So if you want to learn how to become your own CFO, which is a cash flow optimizer, we can talk about his website and much, much more, but we talked to Howard Polansky today.
Thank you, David. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome, and I must add, it does say doctor, but you're not a practicing dentist
No,
doctor.
no, I have retired from dentistry, so no, just Howard is fine.
You're welcome. Now, journeys begin, and I touched upon it there. You started as a dentist in the US Navy as well. There was obviously memories that kick-started your journey. Your journey in US Navy was good memories, bad memories. I don't know. What was your earliest
Yeah,
memories?
it's a great question. In the greater context, dentistry was not the path I should have done. And you can only see that looking backwards, obviously. My memories of being in the Navy at the time were frustrating, but now that time has passed, they're really, really fond memories. Where we're recording this in February 2025. 2 months ago, I took my family back to Japan, back to the base where my older son was born,
Mm,
and then did a 2 week travel through Japan. And it was amazing. It was amazing to see it through their eyes and kind of relive some of this stuff. So we all have to just go through our own path. But yeah, it was 16 years. It was 16 years that was not enjoyable. And I did it all from a logical perspective. This is the right thing to do because, quote unquote, society says it's the right thing to do. But then I never looked down into my heart to say, is this really something you're passionate, that you're lit up about? And if I really was honest with myself, it never was.
yeah. It's like you always have a passion for something and you always know when you believe in something and you truly believe in something because it hits you in such a powerful way. Now, I've been in various jobs. I know people who've had jobs that have been passionate about their jobs and they lose passion because things change. I know,
100%.
I know for myself, I know I do podcasts. I've done over 150 podcasts, but it hasn't changed because I see different, people's journeys. I see people's lives. I see different aspects. Like I told you before I started recording. Yes, I might get boring people, but I don't judge them for it because that's
Yeah.
part of who they are. And that's one belief I'm always believing in. It's like when I used to be on the radio in England, you couldn't judge a guest by just them having black hair, blonde hair, grey hair, a beard, a lady, whatever. You had to take it as face value. Now, you might thought the subject was boring, but you have to still be entertained. So when you was a dentist, when you was in that, and even in the US Navy, you had to be that person who had to put on, and I hate using this term because I use it a lot, you had to put on a mask to say, I'm okay.
Yeah. The last thing that you want is that your dentist is somewhere else in their brain or somewhere else and they're working on you. That's never a good fight. That's never a good time.
Mm. It's like they like elsewhere and then they accidentally drill too much and then they end up doing more damage than it's worth.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that happens, but it could.
it happens.
Yeah. But the point is, you're supposed to be in a happy medium place.
Yeah,
And that's what people expect when they come through the door, when they see you, it's like happy face every time. Even when you're having a bad day, you got to have that happy face.
100%.
So going into, and it says about you've transitioned from obviously what you were doing to private practice, and obviously that was a different aspect again because you moved away from where you were to something I would assume you thought was more comfortable, but it says a life-changing event in 2018. Now, you don't have to explain if you don't want to, but life-changing events define certain destinies, I believe.
Yeah, 100%. I have zero issue going into it. Because I just tell people now, sometimes life leaves you little clues, and other times life hits you with a two by four. So my two by four moment was in Memorial Day weekend, Sunday morning, 2018. Jaden, the one who was born in Japan, at the time he was 12 years old. I'm sitting next to his bed. He realizes I'm there and he says, Dad. His voice is barely above a whisper. Yeah, buddy. I lean over the bed. I put my ear over his mouth to make sure I can hear him. And he says three words I'll never forget. Am I dying? 12 days earlier, Jaden came home with a stomach ache. 3 days after the stomach ache, we're in the ICU at the Children's Hospital having emergency surgery. It was appendicitis that turned septic, 29 days in the hospital, 19 of them in the ICU, 8 straight days of sedation because he went to the operating room 5 times. After they take the tube out of his throat, they give him methadone and morphine to bring him down from the drugs he was on. So, David, my 12-year-old son looks like a heroin addict coming down from a high. And the very first question he will only ask me are those three little words. Am I dying?
Mm.
First breath was, did I hear him correctly? My second breath was, do not lose it right now. I look him in the eyes. I tell him, no, you're not dying. You've had prayers from thousands of people all around the world, and you're going to be just fine. He looks at me. He knows I'm telling him the truth. He closes his eyes to get more rest. I walk outside the room, and then I broke. I was already miserable. I was burnt out from dentistry. I was taking it out on everyone around me. But when I broke, only one thought seared into my mind. If life is this fragile and I'm unhappy with the path that I'm on, burn the ships. It's over. And that's what I did. I sold my practice in September 2018, just walked away.
Mm. And that really defined your destiny into moving forward into what you knew was going to be the potential for you.
Well, yes and no. It's one of those that I just had to completely remove myself from dentistry, which was not the smartest financial decision. I'm going to tell you that. But from the concept of being able to just clear the field and then allow what will come up next, if I was still working even part-time as a dentist, even if it was for someone else, I would have still had that clutter in my life. I would not have had the space to be able to just say, okay, what's next? The scary part is it took over a year to really figure out what was next. But I just had to give myself grace and patience to say, I have been on this track for so long and never thought about any other ideas of possibly what I could do, that this was just that refresh. It was just a complete, okay, hard system reboot. Just you're now a blank slate again.
Mm. Because the burnout factor, and this is what I think is the major factor in many things, the burnout when you do try so much And when it does hit you, it is you, like you said, a really powerful it. And like I said, I've been there myself. I know people who are there, and it's difficult when you're trying to help that person or help yourself because what can you do? If you got no one around you, and you're just shutting you're shutting yourself off from the world. If you got people around you, you're shutting them off because you're like, I'm okay, I'm okay. You're putting that, like I said, you're putting that mask on.
Yep. Well, literally for dentistry, you are.
Yeah. And that mask is literally you can't see except for the eyes, and then you are literally. So I can relate to that. But and same for doctors. Doctors wear masks, so you have to. So going into what you're saying, your new path was revealed when the first person you out, and you out one person in the beginning. You out them took 30-year mortgage and paid it off in 8 months. That's just amazing. That's just amazing in its own mind because 30 years down to 8 months. Now
Yeah.
I'm in
Yeah.
debt, and I know if I was, to get out there in like 3 years, so be it. But I know the way my debt is, it's staggered and it's happening in stages, so I can't just rush it and say, okay, I'm going to be debt free in a month because I know it's not going to happen in a month.
So this is where just the openness of life came in. I did not expect to do what I was doing, but to now continue the story. As I'm transitioning out of dentistry, I'm sitting with another dentist over lunch, and he does ask me an obvious question. How are you walking away? Because dentists have a ton of debt between college, dental school, if they specialize, opening a practice or purchasing a practice, potentially buying the building. Then you've got houses, cars. If you get married, you usually have your spouse's student loans. So there's just debt everywhere, up to your eyeballs. And I make one dumb comment to him. I said, I kind of figured out how to make money move. Now, he gave me that Scooby Doo look, and I tried to explain things that day, and I just didn't do a good job. But a few weeks later, I get the next statement in my mail for my house payment, and I take a picture of it. I send it to him as a joke and said, hey, take a look at this. David, my house payment was $24.19. And he writes me back, I see it. I don't understand how you can have a $24 house payment. I'm buying a condo next month. Will you be my coach? Okay. And what ended up happening is he did pay off the condo in 8 months instead of 30 years. And so he tells his business partner, I tell a friend of mine what happened. They become the next two people I help. And now I listen to my heart instead of my head. And says the way you're going to make an impact in this world, it's not dentistry. It's not doing another root canal. It's not doing another crown. The way you're going to make an impact in this world is by teaching people. I call it the new rules of finance, but the system around it so that they can get to their freedom sooner. However, you define freedom, it's not for me to judge. It's not for me to say it has to be this way. However, you're defining it, how do we just get there faster than you ever thought was possible so that you can actually enjoy this life while you're on this spinning ball of dirt?
Yeah. And it does literally feel like dirt because it's a constant cycle of repeating, repeating, repeating. So now you out families and owners with this simple financial system, and it does that, and it says what it said in the bio. It says you can help dramatically reduce their debt payments on items like mortgages, business loans, car payments, student loans, even credit card bills. So it is possible, and it's about believing it's possible because that's where people get skeptical and say, "Ow," and then they question, and it's like little questions, and the little questions make the bigger question, obviously, but it's just understanding the little questions to make them understand it more.
Yeah, and it's one of those that when I'm presenting this, I kind of sum everything up in terms of look, you can keep doing things the way you're doing things. That's just by default. That's the way that the financial system has set things up.
Mm,
But there is the possibility to set things up by design if you only knew that there was another way. And the other way isn't that hard. It's just hard, as you keep on alluding to, in terms of the belief that you can do it. And so, if you want to kind of call me like the little financial Yoda in terms of like, yes, take my belief that this is possible until you finally become the Luke Skywalker and see you can do it yourself. Be my guest. I mean, that's why people will hire me, is because I'm telling them something that sounds utterly ridiculous. And until they just have to borrow my belief in that this will work until they finally see it for themselves.
mm,
But you can't see it until you can't believe it until you start doing it with your own numbers. And then once you see it, you can't unsee it.
yeah, it's like I was explaining about my debt. Yeah, I'm in debt. I'm not, I'm very ashamed to be in debt. I'm now in a situation where I'm getting out there, but I'm seeing the gradual improvement, but it's just that gradual. I'm taking it day by day because I'm believing in it. Now, at the beginning, I was skeptical because I didn't really understand it. I thought it's another company just trying to sell me, you know, we take this and we take, I was very, I was unbelieving of it because I've been ripped off before.
Yep.
I've been in the
Yeah.
company. I'm not trying to advertise because I don't want to advertise and I don't want to endorse it. But I know there's companies out there that do endorse it. But this company, I've been with them since last year, last June, I think it was. I have seen that difference, and I'm 2 out of 9, 10, 2 or 10 out of 10 debts gone. But, I only have my third debt gone. But that's because I was determined. Even though I'm struggling financially because how things are, I'm still finding a way of getting out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's one of those, you're trusting the process of this company that which is not me, by the way, but
that's what I'm saying. And I'm not endorsing any company, but I will let you endorse your company for this podcast.
yeah, no, that's fine. But the magic, I'll just share it just so people don't feel like, no, there's got to be something bigger and better behind this. It's like it's all about understanding what a line of credit is. Okay. And the easiest example is a credit card, which is it's a tool that money is moving through, and using that as a weapon against other debt that's fixed payments. And when you start to see the math behind the system, or you start to see the system, then you don't care about the math because you see it works. But when you see how to play the game and use one against another, that's how we're paying off these debts so fast. But the most important part about this is that it's one thing to pay off a debt, it's another thing to still have access to cash. Because let's just say that one of your debts was $10,000 and you have $15,000 built up in your emergency fund. Yeah, it's great to get rid of the $10,000 debt, but then you only have $5,000, and that's going to keep you not sleeping well because you've just blown through two-thirds of your emergency fund.
Yeah.
Is there a way to be able to keep the $15,000 yet still pay off these debts faster? That's what I'm teaching.
And that is a good thing. And that goes into how people can get in contact. Now, you wrote it yourself in this bio, but I'll let you advertise it. How can people get in contact with you if they want to get help?
Yeah. So the website or the company is called Financially Led. So just LED. So financiallyled.com. Um, you can text me or call me 512-608-1020. And you go to the website, there's a 1 hour webinar on there. There's access to the ebook. Like, I'm not hiding anything. There's everything that I do is already out there on the internet. Okay. It's just a matter of who do you resonate with that says, like, is this as believable as it sounds? And the answer is yes, it is. However, you do need to understand that this is not a cure all. This is not a magic trick. You still have to be a good steward of your money, and people can get in trouble with this.
Mm.
I've had a couple of people that have gotten into bad trouble with it. And it's like, look, I warned you ahead of time in terms of if you don't change the habits, this is going to dig you into a deeper hole. And sure enough, it did.
Yeah, I agree totally. Now, the last ultimate question, and I always ask this, people always want to move forward in their journey with inspiration, with any kind of advice. What would you say to them to help them progress in their journey?
It's such a good question, David. I'm going to kind of answer this in two parts. Number one, the work that you do is not your identity. I had to separate out in terms of when people said, "What'd you do?" I was a dentist, and now I wasn't a dentist anymore. And, you know, you you get so bogged down in the thought of, I put all of this time, all of this effort, all of this energy, all of these finances behind a career that should be stable, that everyone should have this respect, blah, 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 blah. No one cares. No one cares. I would tell my patients I was the stupid one because I went to school longer than you did. It's the only difference between you and me. All right. So the job that you do is not your identity. And part two is take your shot. I didn't know this was going to work out as it did, but I love my life now. I love the impact that I'm making for people. You can probably hear it through our call in terms of like, oh, this guy is like upbeat in terms of like helping people get out of debt. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I am. It's one of those that, like, it's just for them to see the light bulb in terms of like, oh my God, I actually see light at the end of the tunnel of this. It's fantastic. And it's one of those that if it didn't work out, who cares? You either live or you're either right or you learn. And I would have taken this just as a learning experience and figured out what was the next thing. Thankfully, I found something that I love to do. And it works beautifully in the right hands with the right people, but just take your shot. The worst that happens is no one is judging you.
Exactly.
The only person that's going to judge you is that when you're on your deathbed, you see this person in front of you and say, "Who is that?" And it's like, I am the person that you could have been.
I agree totally. And
And is that person the same as the person that you are on your deathbed? If they are, then you have lived the life you're supposed to.
I agree
If
totally.
you haven't, then you got a hell of a lot of regrets because you're like, damn it, I should have done that. And I should have done that.
Hmm.
Can't change it now.
No. Howard, powerful words, and I appreciate that because powerful words do impact in such a powerful way to those who do mean, when they resonate with it. And, this journey has been inspiring, positive, and even, you know, I can understand, about the life-changing event does make you go that different direction because, when I moved to America, that was my life-changing event. Yes, it didn't go well per se, but I changed direction. I'm now going back on the straight and narrow. But the fact is, you are strong, you're determined, you're making that difference in people's lives, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you. And again, thank you for the opportunity on being on the show.
You're welcome, and thank you for being on the journey today.
And now, a message from Amy. Amy, it's over to you.
Hello, I am Amy Harrison. I'm the author of the book Feline Warrior Part 1 and Part 2, a fictional story that is written in a poetic format that is based on real-life events that could happen to anyone and intended only for relatable purposes. This story claws into Catgirl's past abuse. Catgirl is human and part feline, but truly a warrior who can handle anything because she is strong and fierce. She has been taken advantage of for far too long. Join her on her journey as she reaches freedom. Here are some poems from Feline Warrior. Tears flow. I no longer know what to do. I am no longer who I once was, and it is because I made a choice to use my voice, and that is okay, because what I had to say was true, unlike me and you. Now I see. I am free. I am me. I am Catgirl. Ultimately, be you. Always stay true. Do what you want to do, because every day is made new. If you want to read more, visit the link in the description. Meow at you later. The Journey podcast explores stories of personal growth, challenges, and life-changing moments. Each episode dives into unique experiences, offering insights and inspiration for listeners navigating their own paths. I believe everyone has a story worth sharing. If you'd like to share your journey with David and others, email your story to wisewords1983@reborn.com, and it may be featured in a future episode.